We are on the air. Hi, guys. This is so exciting. I'm Michelle Ward, as it says at the top of my screen, and I'm here today with the Restylist, whose real name is Bryn Taylor, but really, the
Hi,
Restylist. And
guys.
Bryn is in
Call me whatever you feel like.
yeah. Bryn is in San Francisco, and I am in Brooklyn. And through the magic of Storycast, we are here together with you. For those that don't know me, I'm the When I Grow Up coach, and you could find me at whenIgrowupcoach.com. And you could find Bryn at therestylist.com. Is that right, Bryn?
That's
Fabulous.
right.
Fabulous. So feel free if you want to, go browsing a little bit. Make sure you keep your ears open and come on back here. But as a When I Grow Up coach, I work with and help creative types discover and achieve the grown up careers that they think they can have. And I started Grown Up Gigs, oh my gosh, at first as a blog series because I was coming across so many cool people doing these like unbelievably interesting and untraditional jobs that were kind of felt like a secret. And I wanted to get the secret out and let people know that people are actually doing this in real life for work. So I found Bryn through, oh my gosh, I hired her to come and give me like a personal closet makeover and said to her, I have to interview you for my grown up gig series. And now that I've transferred it to the video format, she was one of the first people I got in touch with because I know she has way more to say and I want her to get her story out here and share it with you guys. So, grown up
Yay.
gigs is sort of like,
Thrilled to do it.
yeah, I'm excited. So we're here to have an inside look at dream jobs held by real people. Exciting. Yeah, and feel free, you guys. There's a chat bar here, so you could chat with each other. Feel free to introduce yourselves to each other. Everyone is such a cool group. There are so many names that I know. And then if you have a question, we will be stopping, in different intervals throughout the interview. We're not saving it all till the end. So as the questions arise, feel free to hit that submit question and ask your question, and then I'll be able to see it come in, and then I'll be able to put it on the screen, and we'll talk about it, and it's going to be exciting. Yay!
Woo!
Woo! So, Bryn, I have to start by asking you, because it's required by law that I start every grown-up gig this way. What did you want to be when you grew up?
What did I want to be when I grew up? Okay, so I wanted to be an actress, and I believe that is what you wanted to be as well. Yes.
Was indeed correct.
Yes. I first started thinking about that in high school. We didn't have a proper theater department, but we did this one big musical every year, and it was just like a party. I loved hanging out with the people, and I couldn't sing to save my life, but nobody told me that, and I think that was best looking back because I just sang my heart out in all of these musicals, and I just loved it. I loved the energy of the people, like I said, that were on stage and behind stage, and I think I just kind of rode that high into trying to figure out what I thought I wanted to do with the rest of my life. And I think a large part of me thought that it would be, if I were to become an actress, it would be a big party the rest of the time. And so that was the delusion I was under when I went and applied to college and went through that whole thing.
So I take it that you found out fairly quickly that pursuing acting as a career is not a big party.
I found that out rather quickly. I think, honestly, I went to Northwestern, which at the time was a really great theater school, and I came from such a small high school, and I was like the queen bee, if you will. Like I had the best time in high school, and it was so tiny that I was able to have great parts in these plays and just be on cloud nine the whole time. And I get to college, and it's me among all of the people who had that same feeling in their own high schools, but talent to back it up. And I'm not quite sure I had that level of talent to back it up. So it was a huge reality check getting to college and thinking, wow, this is, well, A, this is maybe not something I love as much as I thought I did, and B, there's so much more involved than what I thought it was going to be.
I hear you loud and clear. It's easy to be like, and nice and fun and great to be the big fish in the small pond. And then, I mean, I know Northwestern has an
Ex-
excellent theater program, so it's not like you're going to some rinky-dink school with some rinky-dink people. Like, I'm sure that everyone that was in that program was very talented and dedicated. And sometimes, the college experience doesn't necessarily mirror the real world experience either. It could be like a big
True,
cast party in college all the time.
true. I think going to a competitive theater school, though, actually weeded out that kind of cast party atmosphere. I first started to realize that maybe this wasn't my cup of tea when I was surrounded by these. We would have the same acting class with the same classmates for all 4 years, or I guess it was you went in sophomore year, so it was 3 years. You were with the same 10 people every morning, and I got to just realize that these people had true dedication that I just didn't have that inside of me. I started to take note of when I would go to auditions, I would pay more attention to what I was going to wear to the audition than actually diving into my character or even memorizing my monologue. I would just be so preoccupied with what picture I was going to present to the casting director. And looking back, I think I should have paid a little more attention to that that voice in me because it kind of led to what I do now.
Can you articulate why you think you discounted that voice or you kind of pushed it down?
Because I think as I was growing up, I was in an environment this kind of small town. I wasn't in the middle of nowhere. I was in New Jersey in my high school, and it was very close to New York, so it wasn't in the middle of nowhere. But I think because of the size of it and because of there was just not a lot of diversity with the student population or anything like that, we all were on this fast track. It's almost like we knew that we had to decide what we wanted to be. That would dictate where we go to college. And then once we get into college, you get good grades, you participate, and then you move on to what you went to college for. And I never had a chance. I never had a mentor or someone who said, "Hold on a minute, you want to think about this? Like, do you like what you're doing? Do you not like?" There was never any chance for taking a pause and saying, "Is this really what I like to do?" And I think that was why I pushed that voice out of my head in college. To me, it was a distraction. It was like, "Come on, Bryn, stop shopping so much for the perfect blouse that'll get you this part, and just focus."
I'm so glad that you brought this up because I hear it from my clients all the time too. It's the things that come very easily to us that we kind of discount as being not special, or not
Right.
something that could be monetized. And I know specifically people who like to shop or people who like to read or people who like to, do things
Absolutely.
that don't necessarily directly go into any sort of career path, sort of tell themselves, well, I can't, well, yeah, I'm a good shopper. Yeah, I could put together an outfit, but I like can't make a living shopping. And I'm like, yes, you can. You can, and you can in many different ways. That's why you're here, and
That's true.
that's why you're here. And you could do it in a way. You could do it, what you're doing. You could be a personal stylist. You could be a stylist for different photo shoots, magazines. You could be a buyer for
Absolutely.
a retail store. Like there are so many different things that you could do, but automatically you just kind of say like, oh well, there are no jobs for people who like to shop. So
I know, but it's one of those things where you have to be exposed to it in some degree. I think at the time that I was right before I was starting out. I don't believe that a stylist was really. It wasn't as big as it is today. I mean, we didn't have the Bravo reality shows featuring that occupation. I don't even think that the celebrity stylists were all that commonplace back then. I mean, it was, I guess, 10 years ago, but I think that had something to do with it. Like when I remember first hearing about um, what a stylist was, and I didn't know what it meant. I was like, wait a minute. I had the same reaction. Like, you can be paid to
mm-hmm.
do something like that. It was such an eye opener.
Oh, so what happened? Like tell us a little bit about kind of when you came to this realization of, oh, this job exists and I could go do it.
Sure. So after college, I was trying to act. I moved to LA for like a minute, and I just did not do well there. So I moved back to New York, and I was waitressing and bartending, and I just needed a second job because I was broke.
Right.
And I went on Craigslist. Just basically, that's all it was. I went on Craigslist, and I found a listing for a fit model, and I didn't even know what that was, but it something about it appealed to me. Maybe it was the hours that was like super easy. And so I went in to interview, and it was at this designer's headquarters on 57th Street. I walked into this absolutely beautiful showroom, and again, I mean, I liked shopping and fashion when I was growing up, but I'd never had the insider access to like a designer's private showroom before. And I walked in and I had this interview, and what they wanted was a person to basically be their living mannequin while they created the samples with muslin. And so you had to the job entailed me standing there while they drape fabric on me and pin and cut. I was like, sweet, sign me up. And um, so that's why I started part-time, but the designer was such a small company that I kind of became their Gal Friday a little bit. And so when I wasn't being a mannequin, they realized I actually had some capabilities beside that. And so I was in charge of buying some fabrics for them and putting together programs for their shows. And that eventually led to helping with some styling in the showroom and helping with model castings with their runway shows. And that's when I realized that when they would bring these people on, they would bring some stylists on to properly style the fashion show that they would have, and be like, oh, that's cool. Like this person is a stylist, and they're doing what I've been doing a little bit. And that's when I kind of realized it was an occupation, and it would be something that could be pretty great.
Mm. Do you think if you didn't find your way to that Craigslist posting, if you didn't that fit model, that it still would have clicked for you?
I think it would have, just not at that time.
Hmm.
And I am so happy that it was it turned out to be a company that closed because they were so tiny and they didn't have enough sales, but it was such a blessing in disguise because the size allowed me to take on roles that I didn't have a degree for or the background in. You walk into those small companies, and there's a special place in my heart for very small companies who, if you prove yourself just by being trustworthy and capable, they'll let you do things. And that's, even if you're getting paid peanuts, it's such a good experience and resume builder. And so I probably would have discovered styling down the road, but I would not have been able to get my to dive into it and be as firsthand as they let me.
Yeah, I think it just goes to show that if you follow just your interests and you're not even worried so much, where is this going to lead and where's the ladder I'm going to climb and what is this going to lead to? It's just, oh, this seems like a cool thing to do.
Exactly. It's true. And my path was not straightforward at all. I mean, it looked like a labyrinth. It still does. But after that, I went in, and I always stayed in the fashion industry, but my jobs after that, for the several years leading up till now, were, I was a copywriter, I was a fashion editor, I was a blogger, a merchandiser, a product developer, and I mean, some of that, all of that actually, just looking back, really helped me develop skills that I never in a million years would think that I needed.
Mm.
So that's also something that when I was in it, when I was like doing this horrible product development job, I was like, oh, why am I doing this? It's such a waste of time. But it's kind of one of those things where hindsight is 2020.
Yeah, absolutely. Ooh, and to hear you wore all of those hats. I just put up a post where I counted how many jobs I had from the time I graduated college until the time I found like the job that led me to be the When I Grow Up coach, and there were 20 jobs that I remember having in 7 years.
Wow. Oh,
And
you win. You win.
no, but part of it was definitely like I was an actor and they needed to be actor friendly, and like so a lot of them were kind of temp or part time or whatever sort of work. But um, I think that it gets frowned upon a lot if you have your hands in a lot of different pots.
Yeah.
But as creative people and as Renaissance souls, I'm convinced that the quickest way for us to just feel like we're in jail and put ourselves in jail is to say, like, I'm going to do this one thing. I'm going to have this focus
Exactly.
and that's it. And I love kind of hearing like this is not a linear path for you. So you found your way to the fit model. They let you try out all these things. You got the taste of being a stylist, putting things together, and but then that led you to kind of a broader jobs, right?
Yeah, and I mean, quite honestly, the path was not necessary. I wasn't always in control of where I was going. I mean, after that company closed where I started, I again was in the position where I just needed a job. And now the fashion bug hit me a little bit. You know, I liked the industry, some parts of the industry, and I had that on my resume. So that's when I went into merchandising for Phillips Van Heusen, who owns Calvin Klein and Izod. And honestly, I had no idea what merchandising was, and no clue.
Right.
But I read the job description, and it sounded like skills that I had. And that was again just kind of applying in right place, right time. They desperately needed someone, and the job itself, not my favorite at all. It was a lot of kind of data entry and being the middleman between their factories in the southeast and uh, and the New York company. But I mean, it was one of those things where I was sitting there not very happy with my job, but knowing that I'm not going to be here forever.
Right.
I'm not. Like, it was very comforting to say, okay, this is not it, and I know that. It's just something I need to do right now.
Mm. It's such a good perspective, and I think a lot of people are kind of stuck in those jobs. I know that's where I was, and I know that's who I work with. But at least if you're in the industry that you want to be working in, at least if you know that you're getting some of these skills that you're going to apply to your own stuff, even if you're not quite sure exactly where that's going to lead you, it's always a good move. Seems like.
Exactly. And, you know, I remember being there, and the head design, we were all paired with a single designer. That's just kind of how they set up the department. And so my designer, um, his name was Michael, and I had no interest in being a designer whatsoever, but he was wonderful because he knew that my passion was not in data entry and merchandising, but rather I wanted to get into styling. And so he was just really another mentor in a way, where he just really would ask me about my side projects, or if I'm thinking about doing this part-time, or he even introduced me to the head stylist at Izod at the time,
Wow.
so I could just pick his brain. So those are other things. I mean, regardless of what the position is, I feel like the people you meet, you'll never know when they can come, like, be helpful in the future or helpful at the time, that you never ever know.
Well, and I think it says too that you have to open your mouth. And I think a lot of
Yeah.
people are very worried that if they're in their day jobs, they shouldn't let people know about their Etsy business or their blog, or the fact that, like, yeah, this data entry thing I'm doing, like, it's fine for, but what I really want to do is styling, and I want to work with that. I think a lot of people would hold it in, and I think that you mentioning this and knowing here's where you find your mentors, and here's where you find the people that could help you, especially if you're working in an industry that you want to be working in. Oh my God, don't keep your mouth shut.
Don't keep your mouth shut. I had the same experience when I moved on to Bloomingdale's, where I was a copywriter,
Mm.
and I was doing freelance copywriting at the time. And of course, my passion was styling. And I remember going into the interview, and I said to the woman interviewing me, who was the head of the department, I was like, yeah, I'm applying for the copywriting position, but in my past, I have had a lot of styling work, and that is something that I continue to do on the side. And she's like, oh, did you bring your portfolio? I'm like, of course I did not, but it was cool. It was cool you're right. I mean, here's this head honcho woman who I thought I was going to walk in and it was just going to be this, okay, great, warm body, next type thing. And she really was interested. So you're absolutely right. Keep, like, open your mouth, definitely.
Yeah, yeah. And you know what it might have been? You might have walked into just someone that saw you as a warm body and didn't care. But you obviously kind of suss that out and are able to see what type of person you're talking to and dealing with and they're interested in. I was,
Absolutely. And I don't feel like you have anything to lose necessarily by mentioning it. Worst case scenario, they're like, great, go work now. Like, go do, like, it's like, there's really nothing that bad that can come of it, in my opinion.
absolutely. It was interesting because when I was stuck in my executive assistant job and I was doing work during work hours on my business and my site and whatever, I would always like make sure to, publish posts like at night, like not in the middle of the
Yeah.
day, and and kind of do that workaround. So I think that obviously you have to be careful that like you're not using company time or resources to do your own thing.
Oh, of course. And
Yeah.
yeah, and I've been guilty of that as well. But I will say that reminds me, another thing that I would encourage people to do if they're in a position of wanting to, they need the full-time job for the moment, but they really want to explore their true passion on the side. I managed in both companies in Izod and Bloomingdale's. I began as a full-timer, and I just brought up to human resources whether it would be possible for me to cut down to 4 days a week. And I never in a million years thought they would say yes, because I always considered it to be this huge organization and everything was black and white. But both times they said yes, and that freed up a whole weekday.
Wow.
To do styling. So yeah, it's just nice to you can ask those questions. I always thought that I'd go in and I'd get like, I don't know, punched in the face or something extreme, like, how dare you ask that? But you can ask it, because half the time,
Oh, your bad
most of the time, but you know what? It's worth asking. And I was lucky. I was lucky these past two times, but it is worth asking.
Open your mouth. Open your mouth.
Mouth. Totally.
With that, we don't have any questions yet, so feel free, you guys, to put in your questions, because we'll be answering as we go. But I love that. I love that. You're not going to know until you ask. You're not going to know until you let things be known. And I think, thank God, I think we're going to really a business model of people wanting to hire and interact and work alongside of people who are more renaissanceal sort of people, or people who have a more full life, that you don't have to necessarily pretend. I wake up, I come to work, I go home, I don't do anything else, I have no other interests. So if you have a blog about comedy TV, or you have you're tweeting about styling or fashion or something, I wouldn't be too concerned that your employer sees that, unless obviously you're talking badly about the company you're working for, or you're doing things on company.
Exactly.
So tell us, like, give us the next step of your nonlinear path. So you were here, you were working for this company, you were full time, you asked to do 4 days a week, they said yes. What happened?
Said yes.
What happened next? Yeah.
So, gosh, it's so nonlinear that I sometimes have a hard time remembering the steps.
Yeah, that's okay.
Basically, the whole time that I was freelancing with Izod doing merchandising, because I freed up my schedule in a way that I didn't have to be there 5 days a week. I began assisting with some established stylists, and I think Craigslist has been my friend. So I've definitely found one on Craigslist, and I don't remember the other one. It might have been just a friend of a friend who was an established stylist, and they needed an assistant to help out on a per project basis. And so I started doing that for these two separate stylists, and that's how I really got. Oh my gosh, they kicked my ass, like, which was great. But I mean, we did a lot of different styling jobs. We would do some magazine shoots, and we would do some music videos and catalog stuff, and we did some personal styling too. But I was the gopher, and they were lovely, but it was like boot camp, and it was awesome, because I think if I hadn't done that, then, I mean, I know people say this all the time, and I don't mean to sound like a broken record, but styling is like 10% glamorous and 90% like just like pounding the pavement in certain ways. And so I don't think I knew that completely until I assisted and really just got into it. And I was not given creative control of anything, but that was wonderful. I could see what the other, how the business truly works. And I also got to see which, I didn't realize how many different types of styling you can do. And so I really got an amazing education from just being an assistant.
Mm. So it sounds like you really kind of started, I guess, at the bottom and really went and paid your dues and kind of worked your way up.
Oh yeah, and it's and I lucked out again with these two wonderful stylists who were definitely stern, and it wasn't a friend relationship, but they were also super helpful with explaining things and being supportive, and I don't know, I think that was really nice too, and I still consider them to be like total rock stars, and I still follow their careers and am so proud to have been a part of it. But yeah, so it was nice. It was nice to just kind of understand that there's a lot of this work involved, that if it's not your thing, then it's not your thing, that's fine, but it's good to know that before diving in on your own.
Mm. I have to ask because I love hearing that. It seems like all of your fashion and styling experience is experience based and not education based. Is that right?
Yeah, well, yes. I mean, if you're talking purely the business or talking purely styling, there are few proper styling majors. Like I don't know. I know FIT didn't. FIT does a certificate program for styling, but I don't believe that it is an actual major.
Mm.
And I've noticed in the industry throughout the years that having a proper credential for being a stylist it means nothing.
Yeah.
It really doesn't. So it's a lot of just this field work and hands-on experience that counts more in your resume, as you build that up. But yeah, it's not like being I mean, I know fashion designers too. Mm-hmm. Some don't have proper training, but it's a little more common to have a fashion designer who has gone to school and stuff like that, but really not the same for stylists, I've noticed.
Seems like it's never been an issue or held you back or prevented you from getting work or made you feel not confident about what you were doing. Like, is that ever an issue for you?
No, but I did, I found the education on my own without the degree, like I feel like I'm an expert in style and fashion now, but to get there, it involved part working with clients, but also a large part was seeking out classes here and there, and reading up on the history of fashion and things like that. I wasn't just sitting there waiting for the experience to come to me. I definitely went out and did a lot of classes on my own. I mean, FIT had what was it? It was I didn't get a certificate from them, but they would do like intro to styling or intro to photography or the history of fashion designers, and all of that I thought was great. I mean, it was super helpful.
So we could say on top of open your mouth, we could say be proactive.
Yeah, I mean, it can only help you. It can only help you. It can only increase your knowledge, and also, again, if it'll help you that if any point you're like, ugh, this is not, I don't want to do this, it's another way to get past that. So
I get it. I get it. And it's better to know that sooner rather than later. So taking the classes or deciding to intern or, getting a lower level position, I feel like that should be mandatory before anyone goes to college, but that's just me.
God. And I never did a proper internship in college. And so I feel like I was a little late to the game doing these internships, which were actually like I was sometimes getting paid, sometimes not. But regardless, yeah, I think it's so helpful.
Yeah. So find those opportunities. Find those opportunities to immerse yourself, whether it's school or an actual job or working with a company. It seems like that's just
or even like getting a book. I mean, that sounds sillier than in my head it was smarter, but
no,
like Like I bought this book called The Dictionary of Fashion, and it is literally a dictionary, but it is something that I have, like, I dive into it all the time because it's makes me feel smarter about my industry. And that was not something I had to, apply for, or so, it wasn't a big expensive class. It was just, a resource I got out on Amazon, and made me feel smarter. So that's helpful.
That's a great question, just in general, for anyone looking to pursue anything sort of different. What's going to make me feel smarter about my industry? Especially when there's not that degree or certification. And I think people are very quick to do that schooling first, and then they find out that they're in trouble because they don't actually like the job. So instead of maybe jumping into that program, let's really see what's going to make you smarter, what's available on Amazon or at the library or via Google or whatever. And you could really kind of learn and see what you'd want to get into, get more confident with your decision.
Absolutely. And I think as far as confidence building too, what really helped me was having my guinea pigs. So when I first started my own thing, my mom was my first guinea pig, and my cousin and a couple of my girlfriends, and that is a great education because you dive into it, and if they're game, they will play along, and you just kind of figure out what kind of knowledge you do need to know in that moment of your session or whatever service or product you're offering. But there's no pressure because it's your mom, and she's going to love you anyway. So so that actually was super helpful too.
That's fabulous. So just do it. Just do it. So open your mouth, be proactive, just start doing it. And I love when you start very safe. Start very safe. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to start with a website and a cold client and a thing and like that. You could start with your mother.
I would recommend not starting with a cold client because that's going to set you up. You want to set yourself up for success regardless, and that is not going to do it. At least if I had started with a cold client, I would have been a basket case. Like I would have not, I'd have been so nervous, it would have shown, I would have been second guessing myself. And so getting those jitters out on someone that you know first is like really a lot better.
Yeah. So when did you know you were ready to go out on your own and be the stylist?
I don't think I was ready looking back, but I knew I couldn't be in my day job any longer. Like I couldn't be in it a second longer. And that was what made me decide to take the leap. I think I at the time I was at Bloomingdale's doing copywriting, and I love the people there, and the job itself was one of the better ones I've had, but I was trying to build up this business when I would go home at night, and I was drained. Like I had no brain power. I had no creative power whatsoever because I spent my day in a creative capacity with the copywriting, but it just, I don't have anything left when I got home. And so I just realized that I have to try to make this happen because it's not going to happen on the side right now for me. I just don't have enough energy for that.
Oh, so what did you do when you came to that realization and you knew like, I can't keep doing this, my energy level, my creativity, what then went into play?
So that was actually when I was doing 5 days a week. So the first plan of action was to speak to my boss and my HR rep and ask them to cut down. And even though it was cutting down to 4 days a week, that helped a lot. That just mentally was just like, okay, now I can have Friday to do all my business stuff. And then Saturday and Sunday, maybe I can be a human a little bit, like during those days. So that was my very first big step, and I rolled with that for as long as I could until that feeling crept up again and said, now 4 days is too long to be there. So and I'm not the best financial planner, I have to say. I wish it was a better skill that I possessed, but I think the turning point was when I got married, and I was able to, and I feel like I again was so lucky, but I was able to jump into this business full time because I had the financial support of being in a marriage for the first year, and that really just, like, I didn't have to, I could focus my energies, and I could really get it going for the year. So that year of support was wonderful, and I do feel bad sometimes mentioning it because I know that it's not a practical solution, so to speak, but it is my story, and that's how it started.
Thank you for not hiding that. I think sometimes this is part of the reason why I wanted to do this interview series too. I think that a lot of the time people kind of pick and choose parts of their story to share online and what they want to make public and tell the world and what's really going on behind the scenes. So knowing that it was a kind of baby steps for you to leave, to know, okay, let's go to 4 days. Then, okay, I'm going to need another day. And then that kind of leads to, oh, okay, let's get out of here, and realizing, looking at your finances, well, this could work because my partner is able to carry the load. I'm going to get, and it sounds like you kind of gave it that first year, and then you knew it was able to.
Yeah, I mean, there wasn't really a choice. I mean, I'm not married to Donald Trump, well, thank God, in other ways, but you know what I mean? Like, it's not that at all. But it was one of those things where we looked at our finances and we said, okay, so we don't, if this is really something that I want to happen, we can cut down on our normal way of life for now. And I feel like it's not as, honestly, when I left Bloomingdale's and I started doing this full time, I thought I kind of had a sweet deal because I didn't have to worry about rent for the coming month, and I could focus on my marketing and stuff that is not direct, like money receiving things. But it doesn't feel as fabulous as it sounds. It was really tough to depend on somebody else to do the finances or for those months. I mean, it didn't feel as great. I didn't like being this person who didn't contribute, and I've always been financially independent, and so it was a little bit weird at first. To kind of give yourself over and say, okay, this is okay, this is okay, this is a plan. It's not forever, and it's going to better all of us in the end.
Absolutely. Did you ever have a plan B in case things didn't take off?
Moving in with my parents was definitely on my mind. Seriously. I mean, I was like, okay, if this is not going to work out for me to leave the day job, I was thinking, you know what, maybe I can move in with my parents who live right outside New York, and that way I could save up and focus on my business. I mean, I was at that, I love my parents. It was definitely a point of desperation. It was this thing where I just didn't feel like I could move on with what I wanted to do in my current situation.
I get it. And we have a question. Yay!
Oh, cool.
I'm gonna put this on the screen. Yay! So Jennifer asked, if you were to pursue this career again today, would you recommend doing anything different?
Yes, I would focus on business skills. I have to say that this is not a
Oh wait, I didn't catch that. Say
career
that again.
Oh, sorry. Hello?
Okay, there you are. Sorry, I don't know if it was my end or what, but I missed the whole response.
Am I back? Can you hear me?
Yes, perfect.
Okay. Yeah?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. Okay. Yeah, so if I were to do it again today, I think I would, those books I got at Amazon, I might have picked up a couple business books along with those fashion books. I definitely think that it would have been helpful starting off knowing a little bit more about the marketing / business / strategic side of things.
Did you always know that you were going to take the entrepreneurial route?
No.
Ah.
I mean, even at all. No, 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 no. But I kind of, it was by process of elimination because I realized that, okay, so I'm not doing so well in a day job. I don't like the little things like commuting, or getting up early or things like little things like that. And like I used to look around at my friends and my family and say, is there something, am I missing like a gene or something? Am I missing this thing that says you're supposed to do this? You're supposed to get up, you're supposed to go to the same place every day, you're supposed to get on that crowded bus, and you're supposed to sit in your cubicle and you're supposed to not worry about it until you retire. And it was frustrating because I thought that I wish I was like that. I wish I could be okay with that. Because my family and friends, and they seem to be happy and they seem to have like wonderful lives apart from their jobs, and it didn't bother them that they were getting up every day and doing this. So I wished for that. At the time, I realized that was a sign that maybe I had to do my own thing, but it didn't feel like that immediately. And even I think going through my my different jobs and my different paths, I never thought that doing my own thing meant being my own boss. I always tried to be a freelancer or tried to, I don't know, just to do things remotely, but it never really fed exactly what I was looking for until I created my own thing completely.
Sometimes it's just a breaking point, right, Bryn? Sometimes like I feel like we resisted and resisted and resisted, and that's what sort of happened with me too when I realized like I didn't want to pursue acting anymore, and I did not want anything entrepreneurial. Like it was time to grow up, and it was time to get like a stable job, and it was time to find something that I loved because I wanted something that I loved. It was time to like do all of that, but grow up
Yeah.
and I was so kind of despondent and I thought I was idiotic when I found life coaching and I went, oh, yep, Michelle, this is what you're going to be passionate about now? Like, great. Why don't you just go back to acting? Like, why is, and it's
I
just,
hear you.
I wish too that I could have been one of those people that's just, this is what you do. This is what you do. Nobody likes their job. That's okay. This is what you have to do as a grown up. And you do this for 40 years and then you retire and that's it. So
Yeah.
sometimes we have
And
to
it's
kind of,
hard
yeah.
to, well, it's again goes back to, for me, it was, I didn't have, I had a wonderful example in my parents growing up of hardworking, responsible adults.
Mhm.
And I thank them for that, but I did not have the example of there's another way to do it.
Right.
And it would have been nice to have that. But I also wasn't really looking for it because I didn't know that even existed. Again, I thought, oh, what is this? What is missing that I can't just say this is what I should do type thing. But
Sometimes you just have to get right up into it. You have to, you push it away, push it away, push it away, and then you just go, this has been staring me in the face for so long. I guess this is what I have to do. And it's the hard
yep,
decision because it is the hard decision. Like this is the
yep,
most difficult decision, and I'm gonna choose to put myself through this. But you know that at the end of the day, this is gonna end up ultimately being the best decision for you, and it's gonna make you the happiest. So, here you
it's true.
I hear ya. We have another question, which is fabulous, and I think will lead us onto our next little topic. If I could figure out how to. Here we go. How long did it take you to get your styling business established and make it a lucrative or reliable source of income? Is there any one thing you did that you feel greatly contributed to your business getting to that point?
Let's see. So as long as the time it took, I'd say it took about 5 years to get to the point where I could not necessarily rely on it for my income, but I could rely on it for setting up. Like, in other words, it took 5 years for me to set up a portfolio and 5 years for me to kind of get the hang of what this whole styling thing was. And in those 5 years, I would do some, and then I would take a break and go back to my other jobs, and so that again was a little bit back and forth. And as far as making it a reliable source of income, I'm going into my third year of no, I'm not. I'm lying to you. I'm in my second year of business. Sorry about that. You're in your third year, right?
Hey, today is my third entrepreneur anniversary. Yes.
Entrepreneur anniversary.
Entrepreneur anniversary.
So, okay, anyway.
Like my funnest word to say. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. So yes, I'm going into my second year, but I was having income from it about 2 years before that too, just doing freelance jobs. So I'd say like 3 years to kind of get the money coming in. And what's the second? Is there any one thing you did that you feel greatly contributed to your business getting to that point? It was word of mouth has been so helpful for my business. And so if it was one thing that contributed to more income, it's been doing a good job, which is sometimes overlooked. Sometimes I've noticed I will be really preoccupied with what my website looks like, or, like what I should say on Facebook. And I sometimes have to remind myself that what really is going to be a good thing to talk about is a really good service. And so I try to focus on providing a really awesome product to my clients. And that has, I think, been single-handedly the thing that has helped get me more business.
I feel like that's tweetable. Like, don't overlook the power of good service.
Yeah, I mean, it's you forget sometimes, especially when you have to keep up with the Joneses in terms of, social media and a web presence and all that. You kind of forget, oh, wait, I actually have this thing that I want to make really good.
Oh my God. And there is nothing that is better than a business that runs mostly on referrals and runs well and lucratively and, on referrals. And
And I've noticed with the referrals, I have such, when I go into a client session who is a new client but who was referred to me by a friend, they have an ease about them because they know that I come with a recommendation from someone they trust. So there's less of this moment of trying to prove myself in the beginning, which is nice.
And I think that's where website and social media and blogging can play a part too. That if this is
Totally.
there to help set up who someone is getting when they hire me, what I'm going to be like,
Sure.
what
It's
I'm
true.
going to provide. That's the thing to really, really, I feel like, focus on too. But I have the same experience. It's much easier, and I feel like less pressure to know you're going into and starting a relationship with someone that's already heard good things about you. Definitely gets you off on a really good foot. It's fabulous.
It's true.
Could you talk a little bit about your services and kind of what you work on right now and how you came to decide this is what I want to offer, and the type of person you want to work with too?
Sure. So I have I used to call it a personal styling. Now I'm calling it a wardrobe consulting service because I find that the term personal styling doesn't translate to everybody. I'm thinking now it's a little too much of an insider term on some fronts. But anyway. So
I'm so glad you mentioned that. Semantically, I could tell the personal stylist feels very like hoity-toity, rich ladies, celebrities. Wardrobe consultant kind of feels, at least for me, much more like down to earth.
Absolutely. And also much more. I feel like personal stylist seems event specific, which I do that, but the wardrobe, the way of life is more my thing. So when I work with clients, I have a menu of services to choose from, but the gist is that we'll begin with a wardrobe consultation where I will go to their homes. We'll talk about what made them contact me, like what in their life right now is speaking of wardrobe, like what is it that they're unhappy with, and what exactly do they want to focus on. And then from there we will go into their current closets, and I'll have them talk through every item of clothing and tell me a little bit about the fit of it, or how they feel about it, or if it's something that represents a part of them in some way. And as we go along, we'll try things on, talk about what's working for them, what's not working for them. And by the end of the session, we will hopefully have edited down a lot of the extraneous stuff that was just taking up space. And so then after that, we'll go through the newly edited closet, and if we are doing shopping with the client, then I will create a list of any big holes I see missing in their wardrobes and what items we need to focus on for shopping. And then in the second session, I go to the stores, I pre-select awesome, lovely things that I think they're going to like, and then the client meets me, we try it all on, and then we bring home the keepers, and I incorporate them into their current wardrobes, and I create outfits for them, and I take pictures and create a lovely lookbook for them to reference going forward.
I still use mine. It's been like, I think like a year and a half. And I add to it too. When I put together cute outfits, I like lay them out on my bed when I get undressed, and I put it all together, and I take pictures, and it's an awesome service. What made you decide to do this like real people work, kind of make that your focus as opposed to doing magazine shoots or other sort of styling options?
You know, I realized that I just was not that fabulous magazine stylist. Like they're a little too fabulous for me. And I use that word in kind of a joking way. I mean, I just don't, I like fashion, but I'm not obsessed with fashion. I like fashion to be a means to an end. It can be creative, and it can be a creative outlet, but to me, my personal approach has always been something more of what's the best way to present yourself to the world, and how can clothing help you look like you, but just look good, you know, and make you feel good. And I don't ever think my true passion was with creating these beautiful out there editorial pictures that you see in magazines. I mean, I do believe they're beautiful, and they definitely are art, but it just wasn't what I think I was very good at. I was good at more of the practical aspects of it. And I've always loved making people feel better about themselves. I mean, as cheesy as that sounds, I've always liked seeing them feel better in their own skin. And so when we would do personal styling appointments, when I was assisting my stylists, those were my favorite days. Those are my favorite ones, when we would go in and actually solve issues and solve problems, and help them see things they didn't see before. So that's kind of what led me to want to do this type of styling.
So that, to me, I'm taking away to just not ignore your niche. It seems like that was something to you, and it could have been very easy for you to have pushed away the part of fashion that wasn't such like the obvious path or the obvious career or the easier career. Not to say that it's easy to get styling gigs in fashion magazines, but that sort of would be, from how I see it, like the traditional way of going through things. And instead, you kind of took a step back and said, yes, I love fashion, but not this aspect of fashion. And I want to work with people one-on-one to help them feel better about themselves through their closets.
Yeah, absolutely. And it also, you know, took a little growing up, because everybody's enticed by being cool and, you know, and being the cool kid on the block, or being in a sexy industry. And I thought that that's what I really wanted, as far as the type of styling, but I kind of felt gross every time I finished assisting on an editorial shoot, because I was like, oh, you know, there was a level of just, I don't know, pretense, and everybody trying to out fabulous the other person, and it wasn't my scene. I always just didn't like that kind of atmosphere. And so it definitely took some maturity on my part to say, okay, well, maybe I don't have to be cool, and maybe I just help people in this area that I'm actually have some talent in. So
I love it. It's just really paying attention Doesn't sound like you went through a crisis. Do I really love fashion? Is this really what, you still were able to stick to what you're passionate about, what you enjoyed, and just kind of push away the stuff that wasn't working for you and pull towards you the stuff that was.
Exactly. Yeah.
Jenna has a great question that I'm putting on the screen right now. What do you think about location? I came to Chicago for school. I've been here for a few years since, but it seems most of the creative opportunities are on the coast. However, maybe there's more of a niche in Chicago. We didn't even get to talk about the fact that you're bi-coastal. So,
Yes, this is an excellent question. Yes, I am bi-coastal, and I serve New York and San Francisco. And it's interesting that this question comes right out of what I was just talking about like the cool aspect of the industry, because it really depends on what you want to do within the industry and what you want to do within the definition of styling. Because if you really want to focus on the editorial styling and you want to do, your dream is to do magazines and television shows and things like that, I do believe that is location specific for the maximum exposure, or I guess the best exposure. If I really were pursuing my career in magazine styling, then I probably would have to do it in New York. Not that there aren't magazines in Chicago and whatnot, but to me, I think I would have wanted that competitive edge. But if you're talking about personal styling, that's what the beauty is that there are women all over the world who want to look nice and want to feel good. And I've noticed coming to San Francisco that it's a very different look here. It's a very different style, but the needs are the same. It's the women who are busy, who are going through changes in their lives, whether that's going from being a full-time mom to going back into the career force, or retiring or whatnot. And it's a universal language of I just want to feel good about what I'm wearing every day, and just wanted to I want to set it and forget it. I say, like, put it on, feel awesome, walk out the door, and get on with your day. And that happens to women and men everywhere, I think.
yeah. And I could imagine, I mean, the work that you do, Bryn, I'm sure Chicago women would be like thrilled to have that available to them.
Totally.
Maybe if you're,
Absolutely.
I have a client who's in Arkansas, and her life is so different from mine. It's kind of unbelievable. So not to say that Arkansas women wouldn't appreciate it, but there would be just different needs, and there might be different price points, and it might look like a different offering. But I think it could all be based around the lifestyle that you want, where you want to be, what you want to be working on. I'm all about, crafting your own sort of opportunities, and you could kind of see what's going to fill in the gap.
Yeah, and it's kind of cool. It's almost like a little puzzle that I've had to figure out coming to San Francisco, because like you said, the regions are so specific that you have to learn that language a little bit and kind of tweak how you approach the service that you're offering. So it's kind of cool. I mean, Chicago, absolutely. You can have a wonderful business there. I know a couple stylists there who do very well. So
yeah. Oh, absolutely. I'm sure. And I can't believe this is the quickest hour of my life. We're at the top.
I know, crazy.
How did that happen?
Amazing.
We don't have any more questions. I feel like we're just gonna wrap it up right here. Like, thank you for sharing your story, your wisdom, your secrets, for being here, for showing that the path isn't always, non-linear. And you just have to open your mouth and be proactive and figure out those pieces of the puzzle. Keep on going.
Absolutely. Just do it, I guess, as Nike said.
Yeah, exactly.
On that note.
Exactly, on that note, go visit Bryn at therestylist.com. And even if you don't live in New York or San Francisco, like, get her blog and get her newsletters, because
Yeah, get on my newsletter, because I'm starting to roll out some virtual offerings this year, and some cool online materials finally. So yeah, sign up and it'll be available for anybody.
Is always great because it's fashion stuff for like regular people. So while, I love some fashion stuff and magazines, like, I'd want to read your blog because you're specifically saying, oh, look at this trend. This is how it's wearable. Oh, everyone had these weird clothes on the runway. Like, this is what you actually do with that. Fantastic.
That is my intention, so thank you.
Working. It's working. It's working. And everyone come find me at whenigrowupcoach.com because it's my third entrepreneur anniversary. I'm doing a little special this week for my workbook and prompts, and we're doing another like live Q&A. That's called An Effective Escape. You can just look at it on my homepage. And I'll be back. Grown Up Gigs, I do it every other week. Next month, I will be chatting with Lauren Falkowski, who is a handbag designer who is fabulous, and Vanessa Caridi, who is an opera singer. My job is so cool.
Can I say one more thing? I see Ruby's asking about books, coaching programs, and development programs that we would recommend. And I'm not just saying this because I'm on your Spreecast, but I tune into your blog all the freaking time. You have the best information. I'm not kidding. Like I just think that you are so it's so you're knowledgeable but in a really approachable way, and I want to put a shout out that I hope that people will continue to get the treasures from you that I get. I absolutely love listening to you and reading your blog.
All right, now I gotta go and sign off and cry. I'll give you your $20 later.
All right. I'll see you soon.
I so appreciate it. Thank you. And thank you all for being here. And thank you anyone listening to the recording. And we'll see you all soon. Thanks again.
Bye.